How's it going, everybody? Those of y'all new to the channel here, my name's Austin and this is Fintastic Freaks. So as we capped off 2022 here, we went ahead and started doing some aquarium spotlights. We're only going to do one aquarium as we're also going to make this a little bit of a care guide for one of our very awesome puffers down here. All the puffers that we have down here, one in which we really haven't talked about really a whole lot, or in the very least for a long time, is none other than one of our main ambush puffers. Of course, I am talking about Chief, our Arrowhead Puffer.
What's up?
An Arrowhead Puffer. Not always one of the more commonly known puffers out there, but still one of the more cooler ones in my opinion here too. It's a puffer that if you keep very well, can still be very rewarding despite the fact that it is a little bit different than some other puffers out there, and it definitely displays its challenges, but when all those challenges and demands are met, this is a very fun fish to keep. Here is my Arrowhead Puffer Chair Guide. So the Arrowhead Puffer, or by scientific name, Paucivati, is also known as a hognose or pignose puffer, and sometimes even a Mekong River puffer, which, well, that part will come obvious here too, but the other obvious part is, well, if you look at it, you'll notice a black-like arrow on its head, hence the name, the Arrowhead Puffer. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory, right? The Arrowhead Puffer, or Paucivati, is native to different parts of the Mekong River. Hence why, as I said earlier, it's also somewhat known as a Mekong River Puffer. More specifically, around Thailand and Laos. And as we mentioned the Mekong River, with that being said, yeah, that one explains its other name, the Mekong River Puffer, as well as also explains that yes, this puffer is indeed a 100% true freshwater puffer. No salt of any sort required. And I know what some of you might be thinking is like, is this guy okay? He's just kind of laying on the sand and just not doing a whole lot. And yes, that is actually very normal for these guys, because in the wild, they are an ambush predator. They just sit in a little rocky nook like what he has here, or he'll bury himself in the sandy or dirty substrate, whatever you give him. And what this does is it allows them to sit back quietly, waiting for an unexpected prey, like say a smaller fish, a snail, a shrimp, or maybe even a freshwater crayfish, to unknowingly get a little too close. And just like that, boom! That's when the predator strikes. Oh, sure, I turn off the camera for a minute, then you move. This will kind of also give you an idea of more of their markings. I mean, especially if you look down there, you'll notice that, yeah, some beautiful black spots and all. They don't have all the vibrant colors like some others out there do, like what, say, a green spotted or a figure 8 would in some of those brackish waters. Or maybe even the patterns or coloration like a spotted Congo or an Amazon or a Fahaka would. But that is also how they blend in so well with the sandy substrate, especially with this one. My Arrowhead Puffer here, he is about full grown. Arrowhead Puffers get about, yeah, give or take 6 inches, and that's about as big as they get. They sometimes recordedly can get a little closer to 8, but usually around the 6-inch mark, give or take, is about where they max out. And in most cases, you might be thinking a puffer that gets about 6 inches, and as curious as they are, you might be sitting here thinking like, geez, I might need to get him a bigger tank. Well, this 50-gallon Pentagon, as some of you may already know, doesn't have the biggest footprint, and that is one plus side to these ambush puffers. Traditionally, they just like to find a few different spots. They might move around a little bit, but not a whole lot. Nothing compared to, like, say, Amazon puffers, red-eye puffers, or pea puffers would, or a Fahaka or a Mabu even at that. If you're looking for a puffer that's going to be swimming all around the glass and always coming up to the front of the tank, traditionally, that is not the Arrowhead Puffer here. Hence, for the fact that they don't move around a whole lot, traditionally, yeah, you don't need a tank that's overly huge or anything. Just something like this, like a Pentagon tank. I would say 50 gallons in terms of like a corner tank or so is probably about the minimum I'd want to do with a tank with such a footprint. Otherwise, I've seen people put Arrowhead Puffers in 55, sometimes even bump them up to a 75. Although I've also seen people put them in as small as like a 40-gallon breeder. All these tank sizes are some of the few that could definitely work out for this puffer pretty well. One question you might have, can the Paucivati or Arrowhead Puffer live with other fish. The great majority of the arrowhead puffers are highly predatory. So really, if you're going to put fish in here, expect them at one point or another to become food, because most likely that's precisely what's going to end up happening. The other question, well, can I put other of its kind in there? Some people have had success with this if it's a big enough tank and there's enough like rocks, plants, and woods to break up the line of sight where they're not going to see each other all the time. In fact, maybe even see each other rarely. However, at the same time, at best with this, I'd say proceed with extreme caution. I myself personally would say, overall, this is one puffer that is probably best kept alone. That's why, minus some snails and ghost shrimp that he can hunt down as ever he pleases, there is nothing else in his tank, because everything else at one point or another would likely be considered food. And while we're talking about food, let's dig a little deeper into this fish's diet, which can actually be one of the challenges for the arrowhead puffer. They will sometimes demand live feedings and reject everything else sometimes. This can also be trained out of them, and sometimes this isn't a problem, period. And sometimes they will accept other meaty foods, but flakes and pellets traditionally, and by traditionally I mean almost never, work with these puffers. They want their meaty foods, such as, if you're just given frozen foods, something substantial like krill or some bigger shrimps and such. Half clams is another option. And of course, with a pufferfish, no talk about a puffer's diet could be complete without putting emphasis on the importance of making sure you give this fish hard-shelled foods like snails or small crustaceans and such. And especially since this one likes live feedings, that can actually be relatively easy. So live, like, say perhaps just a few examples here, some ram's horn snails could be an option, Malaysian trumpet snails could be another option. Just basically hard, crunchy, shelly foods or crustaceans like little crabs, little crayfish, or even some shrimp out there will do the trick. Just stuff in the end that can trim down their beak. Of course, you could also get some like feeder fish and all that. Just be careful and make sure that you're getting those feeder fish from a trusted source, because of course, if your puffer ingests a fish that's sick, that could potentially infect your puffer. So some of you might be like, okay, if I am not all that big into the live feeding idea, how could I potentially maybe train my arrowhead puffer to get past this? Alright, so here I got a little piece of frozen krill, and I also got these tongs. These are just like plant aquascaping tongs you can get from Fluval or your local fish store or something. Just what I personally use. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold the krill, of course, and the tongs here. And I'm sure you can guess what's next. We'll just go ahead down in the aquarium and feed it to the puffer. What you do then is sometimes you wiggle it around and such to get their attention, which as you can see clearly has it. And then eventually, there we go. Dinner is served. And that is a trick that can work with various ambush puffers and such. It doesn't always work, but it's a trick that has worked with me, with an arrowhead puffer, a dragon puffer, and worked with many other fish keepers as well. In terms of temperature, much like a lot of other freshwater puffers, the tropical temperatures suit this puffer just fine. So anywhere between the mid 70s to lower 80s. I keep mine about 78, 79 degrees. This guy likes it just a little bit warmer, so sometimes we'll even tickle the lower 80s with this guy. The main thing I would recommend on the aquascaping side is places to hide. And the other thing that I would say, especially with this species, is very important, is a deep sandy substrate. In here I have my substrate about 2.5, 3 inches deep. Long story short, you want to have the substrate about as deep as your puffer's body is tall, so that way they can exhibit their natural behavior, and if they so choose to, they have the option of wallowing or bury themselves in the sand if they so want to. Just gives them a little higher quality of life. And that, guys, is the arrowhead pufferfish. A fish that, again, may not be the most active compared to like a Amazon, Fahaka, or Mabu. This is a great thing to add a little bit of something different to your fish room, and especially if you're looking for something that, gives you a taste of what it's like for these fish in the wild, and have them, have a little something in this fish room that can exhibit that wild behavior, this is that fish. And that, guys, is going to do it for the Arrowhead Puffer Care Guide, as well as the little aquarium spotlight on this 50-gallon corner tank. But thank you guys so much again for watching this video here and all the continued support you give. If you're new here to the channel and have not done so already, consider clicking the subscribe button, staying in the loop with everything I do. Plenty more care guides along the way here. We got plenty more coming up with this thing, including this 185-gallon bow front tank back here that someday we're going to do something with, along with plenty of other projects that are going on down here in 2023. I'm telling you, the year 2023 is going to be the year of projects down here. And going to have some conventions coming up down the road, plenty ahead. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a comment and like the video, because of course that helps out the channel. I greatly appreciate all the support you guys give, each and every one of y'all. I will see you all in my next video, Fish Fam. Stay fantastic.